Hi, and welcome to the Sunday Sesh. This afternoon, I would love to share 5 hacks for better marking guides. Now, I'm sure if you've been playing with AI to do unit planning, curriculum planning, good old AI's got really smart over the last 2 years, and it's now inferring that if we're asking or giving it an assessment task, it sometimes just automatically gives us a marking guide. But you might have noticed that they're not the best, a bit lackluster. It could be a 3 or 4 point scale. Potentially, it's self-generated criteria that's not aligned to your achievement standards or your syllabus outcomes, and possibly has minimum detail. Basically, it just makes something up to make it look good. And when you dig into those marking guides, they're just not cutting it. So I wanted to share this afternoon some of the things that I do to try and get a really good marking guide. Because when it comes to responses from AI, we don't want vanilla. If we want peak and praline, if we're comparing it to ice creams. And by that, I mean, we want something that's comprehensive. We want it to have fidelity, and we absolutely want to make it easier in our life and not more complex. So let me screen share. And just as a little introduction, Trudy Graham used to be a school principal for 20 years in Queensland, over 20 years, and then had a regional role as an assistant regional director. So my job was supervising school principals, leadership teams. And since I've left the department, I have worked with many school leaders, teams, and even teaching staff, leveraging AI to get the most out of their work, save time, deal with that complex workload that we have, and claw back some work-life balance. So let's have a look at these 5 hacks that I have for you. 5 prompt hacks. Just going to move that little box as well so you've got a nice clear screen. There we go. So the first one is setting up the assessment task. So what you want to do is provide the AI with your assessment task. Now that might come about from developing a unit of work with the AI, so through a series of prompts and a conversation thread. And I always start with the curriculum framework. So in many states, that's the achievement standards. New South Wales, though, I believe, have their syllabus outcomes. So you'd be providing that and asking it to create an assessment task. You might draw the assessment task from the school assessment schedule or from the school curriculum plan. So, or an assessment task sheet even. So you would give it all of that information. And I have to say, the more that you give the AI, whichever large language model you are using, the better. So, garbage in, garbage out. So the better you're prompting, the more information you provide the large language model, that better response. Like I said, we want something that's highly reliable, used with fidelity, got the detail in it. We want rigor. Now, when I'm working, like I said, I start with the curriculum reference, then I ask it to do the assessment task, then I would go for the marking guide, and then I'm backward mapping. So it's got all that information. I then prompt it for the scope and sequence across the weeks, and then down into lessons, resources, and making adjustments. If you want more information too around how to prompt it to get that really strong curriculum alignment to the achievement standards or to your syllabus outcomes, check out my previous video called Prompting AI for Alignment to Australian Curriculum Achievement Standards. I actually take you through an experiment that I did and show you the results I got with the alignment to the standards, and it's pretty telling. The short version of that is, if you have the free version, I'm talking about ChatGPT, if you've got the free version, the way to get the best alignment is actually to cut and paste and copy in the achievement standards. If you've got a paid version of ChatGPT, then using the deep search or deep research option, and it goes and does all the research, comes back, you sit there and have a cup of coffee if you like, because it can take about 7 minutes to do a unit of work. but a much better, deeper response and stronger alignment to those achievement standards. So check out that previous video for all the details on that. But my first hack here is you have to give it the assessment task. Otherwise, it's just going to come up with some generic waffle, and you don't want that. Okay, the next number 2 hack is provide the achievement standards or the outcomes. And like I just said, a free version, cut and copy and paste. Paid version, go for the deep research option, and you will get much better results. Next hack is I upload an exemplar. Now, you might have a previous marking guide that, is how your school or your system or your state has established how they want marking guides in terms of the structure and the setup. You can upload that to ChatGPT, and yes, even the free version, upload it in a Word document or a PDF, and use that then in your prompt and ask it to use that exemplar as the framework for your marking guide. In Queensland, I have to say that the Queensland Curriculum Authority QCAA, their standard elaborations documents for English are brilliant for this purpose. So I highly recommend them. And even if you're not in Queensland, they're worth having a play with because they're all aligned to the Australian curriculum. So check those out and use those as a possible exemplar and a structure for your marking guide, again, prompting the AI so that it is getting more and more details around what you want. Number 4, you might have to ask it for a 5-point scale. Like I said, I have had it generate marking guides that are 3 points. So it'll give you the standard, it'll go above and below, or it'll do a 4-point, which is not very helpful at all. So you might have to be specific and ask it for a 5-point scale. And the last hack here is you actually have to define in your prompt the structure and the focus that you want. So if you upload the achievement standard, and I'll just use English as an example, it could be very likely that you will get the listening and speaking, you'll also get the reading and viewing, and it'll include the writing and creating all in the one marking guide. Now, if you're just doing a writing assessment, you don't want all of that. So you might have to be specific around you just want the writing component. And you might have to be clear too around the structure and prompt for it to follow, for example, what you've given it in your exemplar. And the last thing, and I haven't put this on here, but this is probably the thing I want to emphasize the most, you absolutely have to bring your knowledge, your expertise to this and check what it is doing, because it will make stuff up. So I just want to share my little model. My model for AI mastery is the 3 components working together. So experimenting, and it pays to experiment, though I know you're time poor. So that's why I'm doing these Sunday sessions to share some of my experiments and some of the things that I've learned. You have to bring ethical reasoning to your use of AI and make ethical decisions around how you're using it. And the last thing is evaluating. So like I said, you have to bring your experience, your expertise, your professional practice to this. You're the human in the driver's seat, and you have to evaluate what it gives you. Now, let me give you an example. Here's my 2 outcomes, 2 responses, results from ChatGPT. This first one is from my free version. And I might add too, these are for the same task. So it's writing a narrative year 3 against the year 3 achievement standards in English. Flow on from my YouTube video and Sunday session last week. But here in the free version, and this is as a result of multiple corrections. So I'll give you some examples. The first thing is, and it's not here because it was in an earlier version and I corrected it, it was referencing dialogue. Now, when you go to the year 3 achievement standards, there is no reference to dialogue or students required to use dialogue in year 3. So it was building that into this marking guide. And honestly, that's not ethical to include something like that into the achievement standards and be expecting students to demonstrate dialogue in their written task when it's not a part of their standards. To me, it's dodgy. So that's what I mean by you have to evaluate what it's doing for you. The other thing about this, and this is after multiple corrections, This still has punctuation in it. And you look at that and go, oh, yeah, that looks correct. But again, if you go back to the achievement standard, and I asked it specifically to align to the achievement standard, it's put punctuation in, but punctuation, again, is not referenced at all in the achievement standard and what I've provided it. So that punctuation criteria, to me, shouldn't be there. And the other thing about it is the multi-syllabic words now sitting in the C. In one of the earlier versions, it only had reference to that in the A standard. And again, I corrected it and gave it feedback to say that it was a part of the achievement standards and therefore should be sitting in the C. So that's where your knowledge and understanding of your curriculum, cross-checking everything that it's doing for you and giving it feedback is so essential. As a quick cross-reference, let's have a look at the paid version. And here you can see, and the paid version, this is using the deep search, the deep research option available in the paid version. And again, this is on the back of the assessment task guide, prompted it for last week's session. But with one prompt, you can see that we've got the multi-syllabic words. There's in the C standard, we've got no reference to punctuation, thankfully. And the other one here was dialogues not referenced either. And when I read through the C standard and my analysis of the achievement standard for Year 3 English, this has got all of the things that I was looking for: compound sentences, the topic-specific vocab, the handwriting is correct. So it's about the handwriting being consistent and accurately formed letter formations on an assessment of this first look. And again, and I said this last week, I haven't taught Year 3 for decades. A Year 3 teacher would be able to look at this and go, yeah, that's on the money, or no, there's still an error in there. So I will preface this by saying that. But the cross-checking is so important, and evaluating, like I said, the responses that it is providing to you. I'm just going to go back to the 5 prompt hacks in case you wanted to take a screenshot of those 5. So just a quick review of those. 1, set it up with the assessment task. Give it all the information you can around what your task is for your students. Provide it with the curriculum references, whether it's the achievement standards or the outcomes from your syllabus. Upload an exemplar, a template, a previous marking guide. The standard elaborations from QCAA website are perfect. And then prompt for a 5-point scale and be definite in terms of the structure and which aspects you want it to build into your marking guide. So grab a screenshot of that if that's helpful for you. And then just to wrap up, I just wanted to share that I am available to do professional development sessions for staff around understanding large language models, prompt engineering tactics and hacks, and of course the full process in terms of curriculum planning, assessment tasks, teaching and learning sequences, and adjustment for students' learning needs as well. So there's my details if you want to get in touch with me. Hope this information is helpful to you, valuable, I would predict, as you go into next term and perhaps doing some planning in the next couple of weeks in readiness for term 2. And I wish you all the best. Thanks for joining me. Bye now.